to share it. Give it a
We are
second.
live.
I'll let you know when you're live.
What do you mean you'll
I'm
let me know when
looking.
you're live?
Hold on, because I want to share it.
All right.
Hey.
No, it's not live yet. Now we're live.
Let me see. There's
There
your
we
pretty
go.
face. Share it. I'm sharing it.
This is the trio. We ought to do a song one Thursday, right?
What song you want to do?
I don't know. Maybe we ought to let Higher Ground come and do the
I
song.
think we should. Hey, but
Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of Higher Ground, let's talk about it.
they're going to be
We're
here
early?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to be here. They come in Saturday, and I, and like you and the rest of the family here at the church, are super excited. They released a new song last time they were here, and it was the same way they did This Is That. You know, they kind of
Yeah.
practiced it at the church, and it wound up being a big hit.
Yeah.
They practiced this church song, Shout Jesus, and today they're in the studio mastering the new track, and we're going to hear it live for the first time this
On
weekend.
Sunday. Yeah.
Anniversary weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
In the meantime, welcome to Hijacked Life Live, where we believe God rescues dreams that have been shattered by the cruelties and injustices of life. My name is Martino Cartier. This is my pastor, Pastor Bruce Sophia.
And this is our youth pastor,
and
Semaj.
my buddy Semaj.
He's our baby.
That
The
is
baby
true.
of the whole church.
He is the baby of the whole church.
But anyway, in the meantime, now that you know who we are, take a minute to invite and share, because you never know who this could speak to. Inspire, give hope and love through the Word of God.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit. So last week we started to look at the SCOTUS ruling, which many call the overturning of Roe versus Wade, which is not completely accurate
Correct.
because abortion was not eliminated or made illegal in the United States. It gave the states the right to regulate abortion. That's a big difference.
Huge difference.
It took it out of the federal, the government's hand, the federal government's hand, and they put it in the hands of the states. And that is what happened in this ruling. But we thought we would just briefly summarize what we covered last week and then look at God's perspective, which we started to touch on and didn't. And then we're going to look at Kennedy versus Bremerton, because that had huge implications for everybody who works in a public school, college, and so forth. But let's say hi to Christine. She's our online host. Say hi, Christine.
I could bet that was the answer, Christine.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let's continue. Semaj, just take a second. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my full name is Semaj Hazard. I come from a long line of Hazards and Colemans. I have been at Gloucester County Community Church my entire life, so since I was born. I'm the youth pastor here under Diversity Youth Group.
Before becoming youth pastor, you served in a ministry here, and I was your teacher.
Oh dear. I served on the children's choir with Uncle Marty, and I gave him the time of his life.
Boy, did you.
Everybody's going to say, whoa, that Semaj kid, man. What's he going to turn out like? And look, you came out pretty good.
Better than ever.
I think so, thank
I
you.
think so, too. Okay, so Martino, give us
Yes.
a brief recap of what we discussed last week.
We discussed that this is our year of Jubilee. For 50 years, believers in our Lord and Savior have been praying for the innocent lives of children, specifically 60 million, I believe it was.
63 million.
63 million. And we believe that we heard from heaven and that we received some sort of victory. And I also took away last week, which was very important to me, dealing with women every day, is that this is not a judgmental subject. You know, those women who have had abortions and are suffering from it, we prayed for them and we love them just like anybody else that would have a flaw or a
Right.
fault. But it's not illegal, like you said.
Yeah.
What I like about, if I can say, what I like that it's in the state's hands is that I think it will reduce the abortions that are performed as birth control. It's going to slow down, and maybe, you know, again, I'm not going to talk about someone who has, you know, to make a choice between the mother or the child. That's not for me to discuss. That's between them and God. But I do like the fact now that it won't be used as birth control as much for
Right.
me. personally.
Right. This is a little summary, Martin. I printed that out. I think it helps the audience understand what this is. So let's talk a little bit about the Supreme Court ruling.
Okay. In Dobbs versus Jackson, Women's Health Organization is the greatest judicial reversal since Brown versus Board of Education overturned racial segregation in schools.
Yeah,
Wow.
most people feel like this is on the same, this is the same playing field. That's
Same
how big it
spectrum.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the statement, the overturning of Roe v. Wade can be misleading. The court removed federal control of abortion and returned the authority to regulate abortions back to the states. There will be an intense battle waged in all 50 states over this hot button issue.
Yeah, so it's not over. The right to choose will continue to stack courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States, to pass legislation to negate this latest Supreme Court decision. So what does that mean? What does that mean to you, Semaj?
I mean, me personally, I just think that it's kind of just an opener. It's not done yet.
Okay.
From the church perspective, it's just the beginning.
Right.
A lot of people, when this happened, it was like, the cherry on top. This was the end all be all, whatever expression you want to use. This is, and when it comes to the church's standpoint, this is really, in my opinion, just the beginning.
Yeah, the fight has just begun, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Here's the thing, as believers, we can never retreat. And this is just one area, because today we're going to talk about, as a coach and a person who was hired by a high school, the right to go onto the field afterwards and pray, and how,
I think
yeah,
that
the
was
courts tried to
horrible.
take that away from him. But let's just take a second and look at what the Bible has to say, because we flew through this last week. So it's interesting. My reading last Thursday referenced the cities of refuge. Now, the cities of refuge were cities that God set up for a person who committed murder but did it innocently,
Okay.
or unintentionally, like a manslaughter. Let's say you're working in the field and an axe head flies off, hits somebody, and kills them. The law said that the parents, whoever was related to the man who died, had a right to take the other life. It's blood for blood.
Okay.
But God realized that it was innocent, so he allowed the person to flee to a city of refuge. So Deuteronomy 19:10, read it.
Sure. Lest innocent blood be shed in the midst of your land, which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and thus guilt of bloodshed be upon you. You shall put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with you. What is more innocent than defenseless babies in the womb?
Yeah, and innocent.
Yeah.
So, someone has said, a woman has the right to choose regarding her body, but she doesn't have the right to choose for the body that is the life that is inside of her.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
Well, if you remember last week, I said if you and I were driving and got into a car accident that we were found at fault and we killed someone that was pregnant, you get charged with a double murder. So
Right.
then it becomes a human only when it works for them.
Right.
So, and I actually had a conversation, and I'm kind of like the guy, I try to stay in the middle versus giving a radical opinion. I try to stay in the middle just to get, information. And I have a friend that I went to college with, she's really big on this topic, and I said, well, why is it that when, a pregnant woman is murdered, whether she's 1 month all the way to 9 months, is considered a double homicide? And it was
Yeah, I
just
have a
quiet.
question
Yeah.
about that too.
Well,
I wonder.
let's go to the scriptures. So Psalm 139.
Yes.
Let's read it.
For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well.
Made in the image of God.
Yeah,
too.
right? Verse 15, my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Wow.
Yeah, and when you said that statement, that's so powerful. You do have a right to choose regarding your body, but you don't have a right to choose concerning another body. and that's the one living in you. Look clearly.
Jeremiah 1:5.
Yeah.
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart, and I appointed you as a prophet to the nations.
Yeah, let's go to the scenario, Semaj, where Mary finds out that she's pregnant and she visits Elizabeth, her aunt.
Right.
And Elizabeth is 6 months pregnant with Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist. And let's look at what happened here.
Well, it says, in those days, Mary got ready and hurried to a town in the hill country of Judah, where she entered the home of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, so whose baby leaped in whose womb?
Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist.
Yeah, keep reading, Semaj.
It says, in a loud voice, she exclaimed, Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why am I so honored that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For as soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord's word to her will be fulfilled.
I just have to shake my head because I hear so many times people say, blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, amen. And so many of these people are mad and angry that you're not allowed to slaughter the baby anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say you're not allowed. It's less. There's going to be less.
Yeah.
There's going to be less.
Right, it's going to be an inconvenience now.
Right.
That's the key.
You know, for years the world has argued that the fetus was not a baby until it was born. You know, today no one in their right mind argues that point.
Right.
Science has finally caught up to the Bible. Today it's all about my body, my choice. You notice that? So
Yeah.
who has the right to murder innocent, defenseless life?
No one.
In all reality, no
No.
one. So only God has the right
To abort.
So well,
Yeah.
I have a question. What about the right of the baby? I'm adopted. They wanted to abort the
Yeah.
pregnancy of Miriam. What about me?
Well, the other thing too is what about the father? I mean, the father has absolutely
Yeah.
no say in any of this, and there'd be no baby without a father. So,
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, a woman doesn't get pregnant on her own in most circumstances. Again, I don't want to feel,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
want to sound cold or abrupt. There are small circumstances where things are just deplorable, you know? But that's not what I'm talking about. Maybe what some of you are, but for me, I'm not. I'm, you know?
well, that's what we hear all the time. Those of us who are pro-life, we hear the extreme exceptions. But even then, I had a lady write, I did a church-wide text last week, and a lady wrote, and it was really precious. She said, what about these, I'm torn between these, in a sense, exceptions, these unusual cases. And only thing I knew to write back was what I believe in my heart, and that is every child has a right to life. Regardless of the circumstances in which it was born, it can't control that. He or she has no control over that. Now, if it's a choice between the mother and the child, I'm not going to make that call.
Me too.
That's-
I'm not going to
right.
either, but I will
No.
tell you, I had a client in the salon made a comment that if she knew that her child was down and didn't have the right to abort, she would be upset. And I have to tell you, I almost had to go in the office and sob because I know so many kids and adults with Down syndrome that are better than most people I know that don't have Down syndrome. And they're precious and they are a big asset to society. So, you know, you don't have the right to take that life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've said from day one, only God has the right to abort. And, we lost our first baby. God aborted it. I remember going to the doctor's office, and Cheryl had to have a DNC. I mean, the baby's all kinds of blood tissues and everything. And I remember Dr. Sung said, listen, it's nature. He used the word nature. He said, it's God's way of rejecting what isn't being formed correctly. And he said, therefore, it's aborting itself. And, she got a DNC, so any kind of remains in the body wouldn't remain. It was a decision we had to make. But thank God, a year later, we gave birth to Joel. So she gave birth to Joel. She remembers the date and everything. I think it was October 13th, and then the following year, November 19th, Joel was born.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a hard topic, but I still stand firm on the fact that too much freedom in anything isn't good. Look at our country, right? I don't want to get off topic. I know we don't have a lot of time, but growing up, we were able to pray in school, and you're going to talk about that in a minute. But, when 9/11 happened, it was okay for everybody to pray for the victims and the families and pray for the country. So it's only convenient when it's convenient for you or the person opposing. And I just think that when you allow people to use abortion as birth control, it is just probably making the wrath of God grow and grow like a volcano waiting to erupt.
Yeah, listen, I'm reading through the Old Testament, and it was interesting, God says, I drove out the Canaanites, and it goes through the part, gives you all the ites. He says, not because of your righteousness, he says to Israel, but because of their unrighteousness. And it lists them. They passed their babies through the fire. They consulted sorcerers and mediums and the spirit world and everything that was evil. They worshiped stone gods, gold gods, silver gods. And it was an insult to God. Like, are you serious? You create this thing and you worship what you create?
Which is crazy.
You
How
know
can
what I mean? Like, are you serious?
how
Look in the heavens. Who created
But
this?
how can
You're
some-
insulting me.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
How can something you make with your own hands have more power than you that made it? It makes no sense to me.
It's insane.
But, and that's what I think about every time we get a snowstorm, is how God can stop the world in a second. I mean, we think we're
True.
so powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, we have these militaries. How did Germany lose World War II? It was the weather.
Yeah.
God just made a decision that it's all over, and it was all over.
Yeah.
All right,
So
listen.
you're gonna
let's
move
get
on.
to yeah.
I wanna hear
Semaj is
this.
going to read the summary of the ruling
Yeah, let's do
of
that.
Kennedy versus Bremerton.
I'm excited for this.
So the Supreme Court ruled, I believe on, what's this, June 3rd? This is 6-3,
Today's the 7th.
so 7, so maybe last week.
Yeah.
Last week, the Supreme Court ruled last week on Monday morning in favor of a Washington State high school football coach who was fired from his job for silently praying on the field after games. Coach Joe Kennedy has been battling the Bremerton School District since 2015.
I didn't realize that this fight has been going on for what, 7 years?
Yeah.
God's number of completion.
Yeah, and 50 was the year of Jubilee. Isn't it interesting?
So it says,
Go ahead.
Joe Kennedy has been battling the school since 2015. The district claimed that his prayers violated the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution, but the High Court has now ruled that the Bremerton School District actually violated Coach Kennedy's First Amendment rights. That's what I was going to
Yeah.
say.
No,
So,
for sure.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Most people don't even know what the Bill of Rights is.
You want me to read it?
And they don't have a clue. Well, what's that, the First Amendment?
But even
So-
if they did have a clue, we'll read it in a second.
Yeah.
No one's going to say, when there's a mass shooting at a school, God forbid, no one's going to say, separation of church and state, don't pray for those families of those kids that were slaughtered. No one's going to say that. They only say it when it's convenient for them, and that's what gets my blood
When it
pressure up.
pertains to their tragedy,
It's terrible.
then they want to allow everything
How are you
else
going
to
to
happen.
punish a man for praying for a game in silent, but then ask people to pray when a tragic happens? It's just not
Do you
consistent.
notice the zeal in this on this team?
I
And
feel-
that's what these things are so hotly passionate.
Yeah.
So mad.
There really are issues of passion. But go ahead, listen.
The Bill of
Martino,
Rights?
read.
Yes.
Yeah, because people don't have a clue what it is.
Okay, so the Bill of Rights consists of the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution and was added to the Constitution in order to appease anti-federalists who thought the new Constitution did not provide adequate safeguards for the rights of the people.
So our forefathers, listen, they were always fighting for the people. And the reason why we have these rights is because they felt the government was going to take control of us. Isn't that interesting?
They were
Keep
smart.
reading, look.
Yeah. For approximately the first 150 years of the country's existence, there was little debate over the meaning of this clause in the Constitution. However, as the
Citizenry.
citizenry became more diverse, challenges arose to existing laws and practices. Eventually, the Supreme Court was called upon to determine the meaning of the Establishment Clause. Though not explicitly stated in the First Amendment, the clause is often interpreted to mean that the Constitution requires the separation of church and state.
Yeah, so not to bore us all with a long history lesson.
Yeah.
In short, the purpose of the First Amendment was to guarantee, now here's the key, the fundamental rights of speech, press, right to assemble, right, or assembly,
Right.
petition the government, and religious freedom. That's what that First Amendment is all about.
Right.
Look at it, the right to speech, right?
Right.
Free speech, press, assemble, or assembly, petition the government, and religious freedom.
But I want to understand something. Why does it say in God we trust on our money if it was really meant that God was not supposed
Well,
to be?
let's come back to this, because that clause, separation of church and state, is nowhere in the Bill of Rights,
But they also say one nation under God. How long has that been said for?
right? Well, I don't know. We'd
When it-
have to go back, do a little research.
Where it comes down to is when it pertains to their agenda.
what I keep saying.
Everyone loves money, so if they say, all right, put some God on money, hey, if it pertains to their agenda. If it's something that they're gaining for their own benefit, they're going to be willing to collaborate with the Christian body in order to get what they want. So just how they don't want to, like how Uncle Marty brought up the perspective of the school shooting, God forbid, but they don't want to look bad. So hey, pray in school. It's
And
okay.
I remember 9/11, everybody praying on television. It was okay
Even the
then.
Senate, bro.
Yeah.
It's only okay
Stats.
when it works for you, which
Yep.
is wrong.
All right, so listen, religious freedom is defined as prohibiting the government from restricting religious beliefs and practices, although there are exceptions when they feel the welfare of an individual is
Wow. Can we read
Yeah,
this?
let me
This is
finish
really
this and you can
precious.
do it.
All right.
Today, many want to advocate that the First Amendment means, and this is what I think is so important, means that religion should be removed from any and everything that is federal or state defined. That is not true. It's just the opposite. The reason why the First Amendment was enacted was so that the government wouldn't prohibit us from assembly, from worship, from expressing our beliefs, as in the case of Kennedy versus Bremerton,
Right.
in public. That's why it was given. And finally, we had a Supreme Court that understood the Constitution and had the testicles to say, I don't care what, sorry.
I love
but
you.
I don't care what,
Listen,
what everybody else is saying. This is what it means.
I'm going to make it very clear. Have you ever seen when a tragic happens? I don't care if it's a shark attack, I don't care if it's a car accident, or it's a terrorist, a suicide bomber, or some crazy mass shooter. You will always hear someone say, please pray for the family and the victims.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers are with you. So it's always been, when there's a tragic, it's okay to pray. But
yeah.
football game's not a tragic, so let's fire the guy because he was praying for his team. That is terrible. But
So-
I want to go back real quick. I'm sorry, because Dottie Ackerman, who I've known since probably coming here since I was 13, this is really precious. Her husband was Al,
Yeah.
and he was Jewish, right?
Right.
So Dottie said, I had to make a decision of aborting Danny. He had a serious problem, I'm assuming health problem. And Al said, don't abort. Today, Danny works in the ER, and I saw him bring a man back from a death accident. I'm trying to read this handwriting, sorry, Chris. But my point is that she had to make a decision because the medical team said that there was
Yeah.
a major birth
today
defect.
he's
And
saving
today
lives.
he's saving lives in the ER because her
Yeah.
husband said, let's not do it.
amazing.
Read
That's
this one. This was
beautiful,
from
beautiful.
Angelina.
Angelina said, a woman's choice to use birth control. If you want a choice over your body, then use birth control. That is your choice.
I agree with that, but I still want to be sensitive to the
Yeah.
small amount of people that are involved with
But
rape
well,
and
can
incest.
I also say something too?
Well,
going
I'm
back
going to say with rape and incest, my position is the child still has a right to live. Just listen to Beethoven's story.
That's
He had
true,
no right
true.
to live. Everything about that marriage, everything about his birth was abort this guy. And look, he blesses the world to this day.
That's true.
If it comes down to the life of the baby or the mother, then I think that's a decision that the mother makes.
Right.
And family, and that's between them and God. Who's going to make that call? I'm not.
Yeah, me either. I don't want to make that call for anyone. I just don't want it to be
Is our
used.
time up, Kat? Oh, we're
Can-
over
can-
20? Go ahead, let's finish up.
Can I bring one?
Yeah.
Going back to our topic that we were closing with.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I went to high school in Philadelphia. I went to engineering and science,
Okay.
which is like one of the top STEM schools in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So whenever there's science in the picture, God is usually at a minimum. So I never forget. This was a horrible time, but we had lost a student my sophomore year of high school to like a severe disease. So when I tell you, like, our school was like shook because this is like something like this hadn't happened in a very long time. So I know we had support groups, we had social hours we would come together and support one another, prayer and all types of things. But whenever it was a regular school day that had nothing to do with any type of adversity, we couldn't talk about Jesus. One time I was told I couldn't talk about the Bible, or I couldn't talk about the Bible in a religious sense of that's my personal belief. There's been times when I was called out in science class. So I'm saying, going back to your point, whenever tragedy strikes a population, the agenda of God is okay.
Imagine-
Wait,
Go
let's
ahead.
come back to this case.
Yeah, okay,
See,
good.
this case said Semaj has a right. You know, this whole clause, separation of church and state, which isn't even found in the amendment.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have this amendment was so the government wouldn't establish a one church,
Right.
like the Roman Church or
Yeah.
the Anglican Church, and if you didn't belong to the Anglican Church and you were Catholic, you're dead.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. It was just the opposite. It was the fact that we could express our religious freedoms, whether we're Muslim, Hindu, Christian, whatever that is, wherever we were allowed to do that.
But you wanna
That's
hear-
what this clause is all about.
We want to hear what's interesting about that, though?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure this is just Philadelphia. But,
No, it's everywhere.
Yeah, but-
I know what you're going to say.
But do you know that if a student has a Muslim faith, he's allowed to be excused from class to pray, you know, there is 5 times a day. A Christian student can't talk about the Bible, or he'll obtain scrutiny for bringing a Bible to school. I've seen it, and it's happened to me.
Okay, so
Listen, we should talk about that
should
another
talk about
day,
that.
because there is some truth to that, a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
We don't have time today. I would like to thank you for tuning
Yeah.
in. I know we're over. Please remember to share this, and if there's another topic that you would like to hear us talk about on Hijack Life Live, please make sure you put that in the comments. Christine will let us know. Pastor Bruce, what is your sermon title this anniversary weekend?
I don't have a sermon. We have 9 preachers, 4 minutes apiece. That's our sermon.
Are you one of them?
No, but I'm sure I'll have a part. I'm going to give an invitation, which is my life's blood. But anyway, listen, so Friday we have Cochran and Company and Jordan St. Cyr in
Okay.
concert here Friday night. And then Saturday we got everything under the sun, including your Zoo-Hoo.
Yes, a petting zoo. If someone wants tickets to see Cochran and Company and Jordan St. Cyr, how do they get tickets?
How do they get tickets, Christine?
gcccpray.com/anniversary.
Yes, so she'll put it in here.
All right.
And
Good.
yours truly will be on the 1s and 2s, scratching it up, playing all kinds of music. having
Yeah,
a
on
huge dance
Saturday.
party.
He's the
Semaj,
DJ.
thoughts for today?
I think it was amazing.
Wait, let's talk about Sunday. We didn't get there.
Oh, sorry.
So Sunday's a tribute to our 40 years. I think there's a few moments in there where the congregation thanks yours truly and my lovely wife for our 40 years of service. We're going to give everybody an update on our candidate or my successor, and I think wait till the congregation meets this guy.
And there's
you're
only-
gonna freak out. I'm
there's-
telling you, you're going to love this guy.
There's
You're gonna love him.
one church worship service this
Yes.
week. It is
Yeah.
11:15. So if you're a 9:15er, we will see you at 11:15.
Right.
In the meantime, anything else you want to say before I close?
Well, just at 9:15 is breakfast, but I think we got far more than.
Hey, it's going to be one heck of a breakfast.
Yeah.
I saw the menu, gourmet breakfast.
$30 a head for everybody.
Hey,
You're
Jesus
gonna love
turned water into wine. You could turn something into a gourmet
it.
breakfast,
Yeah,
right?
we can
He's gonna
spread
turn
the
water
wall.
into
So we are
orange juice.
putting tents outside, so if we can't get everybody in here, we will.
Good.
All
Well,
right.
in the meantime, live for Jesus, and your life will make a difference everywhere you go. Be blessed. Jesus loves you, and so do we.
Yes, we do.
We love him. We bully him all the time.
We love all of you.